Okay, we're going to be working with Combat Machete today. There are a lot of tools that have been used over the years to practice machetes. We like to train with the real thing. It's the right size, it's the right weight. You can get a lot of machetes out there. I will tell you something we've tried in the past is some plastic ones. I don't know if you can see on here where it's actually chipped when you make impact. This had a good weight to it, but it does chip. And that becomes actually a very nasty weapon at that point. Also, you must be careful that the materials you are using are not too brittle. These will break, and you don't want that to happen when you're training. Some people use the short wooden training tools. Those are fine, but they're normally lighter and bulkier than a machete, so you don't get realistic motion. Some of the schools I've looked at actually use aluminum machetes that are the right size and shape, but they have a pretty good impact. You can see the edges of them become pretty sharp from being dented because the aluminum's sharp when you're hitting aluminum on aluminum, and they are lighter weight. So again, we prefer to use the actual weapon, the actual tool. Size-wise, we tend to use the 18-inch ones. We train a lot with our knee sticks, and the initial inclination is maybe go with the 22-inch machete because it's about the same size as the arnis stick. But as you saw in our earlier classes, we hold the arnis up a little bit from the end for capturing, which actually makes, when you look at the handle, the 18-inch very equivalent for our training needs. So I always try to use an 18-inch machete. Aside from that, since this is a single-handed weapon, the lighter weight of it allows you to be much faster, more maneuverable with it than the longer weapon. That extra 3 inches makes a very significant difference in weight. Safety-wise, since we are using the real weapon, we have to be very concerned that we don't injure and kill our training partners. What we have adapted over the years is a method of safety proofing these for training. First thing you need to do, when you get a new machete, for training purposes, they come like this. You have a plastic shield on them. Let me grab a silver one so it matches here. Should find that. When you get a new machete, they have a plastic shield on. This is made for packing purposes. These are not solid enough to protect you on impact. What we do is we run these along a grinding wheel and make them smooth. So first of all, they're not going to cut the way the sharp edge would, but they are still a thin piece of metal, so just the thinness of that metal going through the momentum is still going to do major damage. You want to spread that impact out a little more. What we have found is most effective is simple door edge molding from any auto parts store. You want the kind that's a tight U shape to go on the edge of sheet metal. And we take this and we actually feed it on all the way around, so it ends up looking, again, this is a black one, so it's all the way around the edge. It gives you a nice, very smooth surface for impact. When you go to the store, the auto parts store, you will find small strips of it versus the long strands of it. The long strands are about 25 feet. They're not very expensive, like $15 for the whole roll. Do get the long roll instead of the short pieces. If you get the short pieces, you will end up sectioning it off. You want the protection go all the way around, including that point, because we do use techniques where we are stabbing, so you want it going all the way around. Okay, so the steps, pretty straightforward. Get any basic, inexpensive machete, grind the edge off all the way around, including the point so it's rounded. You get the door edge molding, and we feed it on. And we feed this on all the way around, which will take a couple minutes here to squeeze it on. And I can even feel on the back there, even though that's nice and smooth, it's still cutting into the hand some. That's why we put this edge on. When you get up to the end, you will need to put a little snip in there just to allow it to fold over. Anywhere in there. It allows it to fold over the edge here better. Make your turn. There's some adhesive in these. These are self-adhesive strips. I think this one's actually sealed shut there. I have it folded over. Yeah, there we go. Sealed itself shut on the adhesive when I squeezed it down. Now it's going on. And you would obviously do this ahead of time so you have them ready for class. And you fold that all the way around. When you get to the end, you'll snip it off. And then I take tape. We take basics duct tape, wrap around there. That secures the ends. And that gives you a very smooth surface to fight against. It's very important that you grind that edge down first. This is one that's probably not going to show up well on camera that was not ground down before we put the edging on. And when we're fighting and training, making impact, the sharp edge actually cut through the door edge molding. So you will need to periodically check these as you're training to make sure you're not cutting through. You do not want to hit your training partner with the sharp metal. And that actually comes a very rough edge there. So grind the edge first, put the edge molding on. For an extra level of safety, we then put these inside the sheaths that came with them and add a layer of tape around there. That gives you an even extra level of safety. And that's how you end up with an effective training machete that is relatively safe, but do periodically check it as you're training to make sure you don't have any rough edges. As in any of our training with any weapons, we do always designate a weapons officer, whether we're working with knives, guns, machetes, to periodically go through and make sure the weapons are clean, are still safe to train with. This particular one, safety officer found during a test, we were doing some very aggressive fighting and heard a change in sound. So if you have a weapons officer go through periodically, you will protect your students. You want your students to learn to fight safely and effectively. With these here, probably about every 15 minutes you would want to go through and check for safety, depending on how intense you're hitting.
To my papa, it's the L word. To my sensei, it's the